I don't think there's any question that we can call the political left and unions and certainly some academics have always thought that paid sick days are a good idea, that it's a way of boosting worker compensation. These folks like the sort of more liberal European style labor market policies. And so this has become an opportunity to kind of push a favored policy. That's why they're asking for employer paid permanent. This will be around long after the pandemic is gone. And that is a fairly substantial change to the labor market. And I don't think it's the kind of thing you want to do in a panic. I think if this is on the table, then it needs to be debated in a kind of reasonable and rational way, and we need to take our time with that decision. It's a fairly, a large-scale change to the labor market, and I don't think we want to rush into it.
Do you? What sort of other things are on the agenda? You said this is part of a plan by advocates to reform our labor codes, make them more European. What other items are on the menu there?
Well, certainly at the beginning of the pandemic, we saw calls for universal basic income, which is another even larger change. So there's quite a few of these sorts of hobby horses, I guess, lying around, and this has become an opportunity to push them forward. And I think we got to be aware that the pandemic is a temporary crisis, hopefully shorter rather than longer, and we should be dealing with it with temporary measures wherever possible, because we want to get back to normal as quickly as possible. And we saw the universal basic income debate seems to have fallen off quite significantly.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that. Is there a reason for that, do you think? Maybe some of the warts in that idea have become more manifest over time? What are your thoughts on that?
Well, we saw a couple of fairly credible reports that put the price tag in the hundreds of billions of dollars a year. And even though money seems to be, flowing like out of an uncontrollable garden hose right now, I think calmer minds recognize that you can't possibly pay for that and all the other things that are going on. It's just, price tag was just too large, as attractive as the idea may be as a pure concept.
Are there things we're learning from the pandemic, though, that are good ideas that are coming out of it?
It's a good question. I'd have to. Maybe that's a subject for my next story.
The next story.
I'm afraid I don't have anything in my back pocket for that. If you wanted to throw something my way, I could consider it. But
there's always more debate.
Certainly, we've seen that government can innovate a lot quicker than we ever thought, and that's probably a good thing. It would take months, if not years, to come up with a new government policy. And we've seen the federal government, to their credit, roll some things out pretty darn quickly. The CERB, for instance, and this Canada Recovery Sickness Benefit that we're talking about. And they're presented as temporary measures. No one is saying these are all carved in stone, and they've changed quite a bit as time has gone on. And I think that's to government's credit, that they've been prepared to call audibles and run with what works and drop what doesn't.
Some people are saying that this is going to be ushering in a new era of a greater government decision making in our lives. Do you see that as well?
Well, it's certainly, if we're going to pay for all this stuff, there's going to be a lot more government. The hand of government is going to be more ever present. That's for sure. There's all this talk of the Great Reset, and to what extent is life never going to go back to normal? And I think that's a real shame. We don't want, the same way we don't want the pandemic to be an excuse for bringing in a permanent paid sick day program when we haven't really thought it through.
Sure.
We don't want to do the same thing with a bunch of other policies either.